Video. You are on?
The March 3rd, 2026 Economic Development Committee meeting. This panel is now in session, and we have a roll call.
Robert here. Joseph here.
Morrison here.
Morgan here.
Okay. We're all here. Public comment? Everybody's going to give the public comment?
Mr. Rock.
Yes, public comment. And I will reference, I have 3 minutes. I will reference new business A. Anything and everything that has to do with any discussion by this committee relative to the historic preservation. Anything that's relative and nature to that. I would like an opportunity for this committee to make available an invitation to any public members that not only are wishing to attend, but to have an opportunity for some dialogue.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
There are no other participants online.
So, moving on to new business. I had seen, and we're trying to figure out ideas for the, gathering our research for preservation, for preservation. I saw an article in the E-Register last Friday, and it was regarding the approach that the city of Amity has taken. And I know somebody who lives in Amity and your neighbors of the woman on the committee that was mentioned. So I was able to connect with the woman here referenced to get some insight on their approach. And so one thing that it says in the article is they applied, so Amity applied for a certified local government grant through the Oregon Park and Recreation Department to create a historic preservation plan as a guiding document for future projects. So I got some backstory on this, and part of this was originally, according to the city manager, he said that they had started a historic committee. They've tried multiple different things. It just kind of reminded me of the discussions that have come up in city council and here, and just that we have there are different perspectives and approaches you can take. And so he said that they've done different things. They've put together the historic land committee, and that came together in 2014 when they had that ordinance. And they've done some other things regarding the development code, but he said implementation has been spotty at best. So in order for the city to kind of take it to the next level and actually come up with some things that they could that have some teeth behind it, they established a plan and utilizing I spoke with Eve Silverman, who's referencing the article. So she said that their goals are to preserve buildings, to enhance the appreciation of historic buildings, to educate people on the historic aspects of the buildings in the town, and to educate people who maybe are like property owners or somebody buying a place on the benefits of preservation, and to educate them on grant opportunities. And so in order to kind of move this forward, and to get money for grants, they became a certified local government. That program enabled them to apply for that, and then that enabled them to have a grant to do the next steps for a hold on a minute. Enable them to do the survey and then to be able to apply for grants to get further funding and to get their strategy in place. So the certified local government program, if some of you guys are familiar with that at all, or I can tell you some details here, and then our people that are going to call at 3:30 will be to provide more context as well. But the certified local government program, or CLG program, in Oregon promotes historic preservation at the local level, allowing local governments to receive federal grants and technical assistance for preservation efforts. So this program, the CLG program, is a federal initiative administered by the Oregon State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO. And so it provides this framework and helps local governments engage in preservation activities. So to become certified, local governments must meet specific qualifications and demonstrate a commitment to preserving the historic resources. And this is something too that I've learned from my discussions with Edna and Keith Abrams moving on. But first you have to form a committee, a historic landmarks committee. So that is something that you have to start with that. And then you have to have qualified members on that, and I don't have any details on what a qualified member is. Then it's pass a preservation ordinance that outlines how preservation issues will be addressed. Participate in updating the state's historic building inventory program, which is what I originally discussed when we had the guys come from the state a few years ago.
Yeah, Robert
Talking about that. Review and comment on National Register of Historic Places nominations within the boundaries. And so then, so as far as applying for grants, so if you are part of the CLG, or CLG community, you can apply for grants to fund the preservation project. And the application process includes submitting a proposal that meets the requirements of the Historic Preservation Fund and the CLG program. And then grants typically range from $5,000 to $20,000, requiring a 50-50 match for funding. Projects may include historic property documentation, rehabilitation, and public education activities. So the education is kind of ties in with what the Amity folks were talking about as well.
I'd like to read what Robert Olgen sent us May 3rd, 2023, out of his document that also states a CLG can also create a local designation that can have different requirements than the National Register and allow for a different integrity or significant threshold as its design criteria catered to your community as opposed to a standardized one for the entire county.
And so that's the kind of thing we can get clarification on today too, when we have Evan and Katie on to it, kind of like help first out the details.
When you talk to Elaine, sorry, I couldn't remember.
Oh.
Evie.
Oh,
or
E. Silverman.
Did they explain, like, how are you educating people on? Did they say how they're educating them?
Well, what they're trying to do, they're doing a survey. Okay, I can read you the article too. So what they did, okay. They had an architectural historian with Northwestern National Contractors Creative Plan. She presented about the process. She said the plan would recognize existing conditions such as historic inventory, include roadmaps for vision goals, strategies, and action plans. So the communication and educating the people is something that they want to kind of do into it.
Gotcha.
They haven't started
They
that
haven't
yet.
started, okay.
Yeah. And she said the plan, they want to address contextual items such as different development periods or template styles. So they had like this public meeting, where they're trying to explain like, oh, here's the people in attendance express the desire to recognize former businesses and structures that have been abandoned were demolished with lack of signage, including a blacksmith shop, a doctor's office, and the old train station.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, at some point, like, somebody has to be able to identify what is a historical site slash building slash all these
Yeah.
things, right? Like,
Yeah, and then they want Amity residents and those living out of town to frequent the community, encouraged to complete a survey that they can refer to during the creation of this plan. And then like questions include, what is your favorite historic building or area in Amity? What buildings or places do you worry about leaving in Amity? What historic resources, building structures, sites, parks, cemeteries, areas, city, should the city of Amity work to preserve, reuse, or better take care of? And the historic landmark committee does meet regularly, so this is an extra push, but so they have their committee that they've had for a long time.
gotcha, the CLG, yeah.
And so, anyway, so I thought it was good, kind of practical application and maybe an example of how we can start next. So anyway, that's what I have here. So do you guys have any other, I guess, can you open it up for discussion? Angie, is that for me now? Anything else that comes up from these points that would be helpful?
Yeah, my only question would be like, how do other cities that got the CLG grants, how are they? Like the explanation of the education, basically, like how are they educating the people that either own the preserved buildings, buying, whatever that is, right?
Mhm.
Where, what you can and can't do to the building, all that fun jazz.
Mhm.
We could just say that, and then obviously like, I'm assuming most people would like it because it helps you. You know, you got a $10,000 loan, you're matching at 50%, whatever it is, like you're getting things to improve whatever you are.
Mhm.
I'm assuming you have to improve to come up to a code of some sort or whatever it is, right? You have to come up to the,
Just, I might,
Yeah.
quick amend that. In the economic development meeting packet, January 6, 2026, has the answers to the benefits and the
oh,
restrictions.
sweet, okay.
The last 2 pages of the document.
Yeah.
A lot
Of
more,
the
a lot
CLG.
more benefits than restrictions. It's only got 3
Yeah.
restrictions and all the rest are benefits. Yeah.
Perfect.
And then some things like from Amity Historic Landmark Committee, so just for context here, this is something that the idea that we pursue, I mean, this is from 2014, I think, but the city of Amity, the purpose of this was okay, the purpose, district buildings, objects, structures, and sites in the city having special historical, architectural, or cultural significance should be identified, recognized, and preserved as part of the city's heritage. To this end, regulatory controls and administrative procedures are necessary for the following reasons. And you can list out, stabilize and improve property values through restoration efforts, encourage ongoing viability of historic buildings, promote education of local citizens on the benefits associated with an active historic preservation program, foster civic pride and using noble accomplishments of the past, protecting and maintaining perceived attractions for tourists and visitors, and strengthen the economy of the city. And then there's things about like alteration, demolition. And I didn't turn out the whole thing, but anyway.
That's all good stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is gonna be the questions when we get our presentation.
Yeah.
You know, or the question and answer period.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Anything else? Moving on. Some discussion on next steps for the zero zone urban forestry project.
So I don't have a ton on this, but, so I have not yet scheduled a meeting with that, and that's on my list. One of the things that I was kind of thinking about was how big of a swing do we want to take at trees in the first year, like a block? Well, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to get the approval of all of it? Do we want to try to?
Start focused
It
and
seems
not,
like a focused area
Mhm.
that makes the most sense to me would be from T&E to Larson House.
100%.
Correct.
Absolutely.
On that side of the street.
Yep,
There's no overhead power lines.
yep.
But it seems like the low hanging
Yeah.
option.
Like that would be approved quicker and easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And
And then it becomes something that we can accomplish as opposed, I think a lot of times we get into situations where we make a very easy thing really big and start adding and adding and adding and adding to make it only a one-time vote.
yeah,
And then that thing never happens.
And then by putting only that block and a few trees in that area, we do several things. We get the process squared away,
Mm-hmm.
which it may or may not go smooth in the first part. We figure out what the cost is going to be per. We figure out whether or not we're going to have anybody supporting the trees with donations or grants or whatever. And by putting one tree in the grant, or in the ground, we find out what it actually is going to entail, how much trouble it's going to be, what it's gonna cost, and then move to the next tree. And then move to the next tree. Now, I'm saying this in segments because it may be quite expensive to do a saw cut on the concrete, and dig down and plant a tree and put the electrical and the water in and all that stuff. So the first tree might cost us quite a bit. The second one should be less. And the third one should be better.
I think yeah, I guess it depends on the cost and the funding and so on, but I would think even just that one block all at once, so it is implemented, because I could see it also just doing one.
So now we can work from Larson House back to T&E. Because I would figure that there's going to be less truck traffic and less sort of, what am I trying to say? Semi parking and delivery parking, less at Larson House because of the side street. And more in front of T&E. So depending on the type of tree, how big it gets and how much it hangs into the parking area, it's going to be definitely a issue.
So on that, and likely Rocky can speak to this, but there is delivery truck code for the city of Vienna. We just don't.
Enforce it.
Right.
Yeah.
There's, nobody has a way.
It's like the telephone pole down here on the right that keeps getting swiped and chunks of it torn out because of these trucks that come in and park in front of T&E making deliveries.
The T&E truck.
No. Yeah, trucks in general that make
Oh.
deliveries to T&E are swiping
Delivery
these,
truck that did that.
are swiping these poles. These poles are getting chunks taken out of them on a weekly or monthly basis continuously.
Has that ever happened?
We had one and he was just stopping for a soda is what I think what was the.
So I think I've lost track of what we're talking about delivery trucks now.
I think it was his concern, which would be valid, is in the choosing of the type of tree.
Oh, that would.
It would overhang to become damaged.
Okay, I was thinking it was like during the installation.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
it would be after the fact.
Got it. Okay,
We can look at it.
And how far set back away from the curb you want to cut it, and, you know, all the ins and outs.
So we only have 8-foot curves, and you have got to be at the curb.
Yeah,
You do not have an option.
so proposed next steps.
So I think the next step is, if we're all in agreement that it's just the one block, that then we focus the meeting into that one block. I would think what I'll do is make that meeting and then invite individuals, let's go. Yeah, say, because I would rather just show up to them. Kind of makes you feel a little more serious, you know, they want to actually just make you leave. So sometimes I find that you get your yes a little bit faster by showing up.
And I talked to Bob Landauer, as I was asked, and he's waiting for somebody to reach out to him, in tree selection, outing, so to speak.
So I think the tree selection also will have to come out of the ODOT meeting because they might have regulations or rules as to next to their highway what they're allowed to do.
Right. Right.
Sure, when are you planning on it? We going down there?
I plan on trying to set that meeting up tomorrow for 2 weeks. Is kind of what I would hope for.
How many people do?
We can all get, I care. That would make Angie so happy if we had quorum and another 10. We would have to avoid quorum.
Yes.
How many is that? Two then? Two to avoid a quorum?
There's only 3 voting members, right?
Yeah, I can go as long as it's two.
No, there's,
Or a whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
Are we
not
all
voting
voting members?
pretty open currently.
Yeah.
for the next
Oh, we are.
And I'm gonna be gone.
I have to
Two.
drive my
Two
friend
women.
to the airport on the 17th.
That's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
ODOT doesn't-
Okay, well,
ODOT parties that.
that's
day.
budget meeting, so that's
Yeah.
really out anyway.
So the 24th or the 10th is good for me,
So if it makes sense to just have.
or the
shade
31st,
plus one, maybe?
any Tuesday except for the 17th.
Did you say the 24th or the 10th?
The 10th
Uh-huh.
of March, or the 24th of March, or the 31st of March. All those are Tuesdays.
Tuesday.
And I'm open all of the Mondays and all of the Tuesdays. So, doesn't matter. 9, 10, 16, 17, 23, 24, 30, 30.
And I'll also be fun out, in fact, you know,
Dude, good.
maybe 2 weeks later. Mhm.
So we'll have to pick whoever,
Yeah.
because we should go.
No, yeah,
There's
yeah,
two.
just two.
I nominate you two.
Fine,
Okay.
it's fine with me.
And we'll see what, I mean, because at the end of the day, we don't get to dictate to ODOT when the meeting is.
No, I can just,
You're
yeah.
You're not gonna be.
I know,
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, show up, awesome, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you'll.
But, 2, 30.
Did you forward them the agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
With the.
link. That's, I just wanted to make sure they had the link.
They use it their own. This one is want to open up to ask Rocky questions. Angie?
Yeah, you're the chair.
Okay. Rocky.
Rocky,
I'm sorry.
you have to speak up though, if you want to talk to Rocky.
Okay,
Yes, almost shallow.
okay, Rocky, with your comment, would you like to provide more context on your comment?
Would I like to provide more context?
Context. Hmm?
Well, yes, I would. On the subject of historical structures, property owners that either do have or might have, I'm sure would be very interested in the direction that a governing authority might attempt to take.
Yeah.
And their input, in fact, could be extremely valuable. In fact, as I think about that and your question about assigning a data to go someplace and get information, it would seem to me that relative to trees and so forth, and I'm not trying to wander from the subject, but I have a thought. And if you know the right questions to ask, and you designated even one person or more, you could contact Public Works from Newburgh, McMinnville, any city in Yamhill County, or you can go outside if you wanted. make an appointment, talk to those people. You will get information that identifies, this is what it costs for us to do it. These are the challenges that we had to walk through. I think you could gain a lot of information in a very short period of time, and you would have substance in your discussion.
Thank you.
Anybody interested in the three? One, two, the five current historical items in our city
Yes,
And these are historical based on what criteria?
based on the architectural survey data of the city of Yamhill. Printed out 12/3/25. Oregon State Historical Preservation Office.
Okay.
This is part of the packet, again, of the Economic Development Committee meeting, January 6th, 2026. So 285 West Third Street. John Mary Gunhouse. Single dwelling. 100 Laurel Street. Laughlin Lee House, or the Lee Laughlin House. Single dwelling. Laurel and East First Street, United Methodist Church, a religious facility. 265 Main Street, First Christian Church, a religious facility. And those are in.
thank you.
Oh, I forgot. 110 South Maple Street, P&E store. I forgot. I missed it. 1903 specialty store.
Is the bank still listed on there?
No, it is not. Those are the only buildings. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And what was their designation again, officially?
Architectural survey data of the city of Yamhill, Oregon State Historic Preservation Office. And so the designation is part of the historic preservation designation survey. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it seems like maybe there's something with from that. Yeah. Okay.
I have Caitlin on. I can add her as a panelist, or I can just allow her to talk.
Yeah.
It's the age of the building.
Katie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello, thank you.
Hi.
We'll wait for Evan.
So a fun fact, the 285 West Third Street property is 1877.
Katie, do you know with Evan, he said he was able to attend. Do you know if there's a change in that?
No, I believe he's attending.
How about if we just, we'll kick this off. So,
Okay.
alrighty. So, Katie, you're on with the Economic Development Committee. We appreciate you being here. And we have a couple of community members here, virtually and in person as well. And we've been discussing, the city of Yam Hill's approach to how we can approach historic preservation or recognition. And I know from the conversation that, excuse me, that I had with you and with Evan to get further, excuse me, insights on the different directions that we could take, it seems like there's been more questions that have come up that I haven't been able to answer, and we were hoping to have you and Evan just provide, kind of be the voice of reason and provide like more clarification for us. And so I'll start with our mayor, Shea Corrigan, here, and he has some input from what the city, how we were tasked with this original project.
So the idea, and thank you for attending our meeting. Sort of the idea that was first launched was we have a central business district overlay, which goes through what is effectively the main street of Yam Hill, although called Maple Street. That has several older buildings, very old buildings, some historic buildings for sure. But there was no protection for those buildings. A lot of people, there's a sort of a saying, keep it Yam Hill. And a lot of people like that. In order to keep the town looking that certain way, which is sort of, maybe the end of the Western period of architecture. The idea was to have a historic district in that central business district and then to potentially expand from it. We keep running into dead ends on what that looks like. You don't want to be a burden to building owners or to businesses, but to be able to keep our little town looking like our little town as new things come along and are built. That
Yeah.
reasonably close?
Yeah. Thank you. And Katie, would you like to explain to everybody your role too? I should have had you start with that.
No, absolutely. Thank you for the background. And I do apologize. I don't believe there's a way for me to turn on my camera, and every time I speak, I lose visual of all of you. So feel free to interrupt. I just, unfortunately, when I'm speaking, I can't see your faces. Something about the way the Zoom meeting runs. Anyway, my name is Caitlin Abrams. I'm the National Register of Historic Places Coordinator at the Oregon State Historic Preservation Office, which is a division of Oregon Parks and Rec. The National Register of Historic Places is a federal program, but it's locally administered. So in my role, I help people go through the process of nominating whether buildings or archaeological sites or districts like yours to the National Register for that federal level of recognition. In discussing historic districts like you are, there are kind of two buckets that you're looking at. One is National Register, and then one is some kind of local district. So at the federal level, National Register, that is a long process to apply for. the National Park Service, are the ones who ultimately make the final decision as to whether or not to approve a National Register Historic District or not. And then the implications of that listing are primarily honorific. So that means that designation doesn't place any restrictions on what a non-federal owner can do with their property, up to and including demolition, unless the property is involved in some kind of project that receives federal assistance, like grant funding or licensing or permitting. However, in Oregon, under statewide planning goal 5, that does require local governments to review proposals for demolition or relocation of a National Register listed resource. So what that means is that if you nominated your district to the National Register and it was approved, there wouldn't be any kind of automatic like design review or other kind of restrictions placed on any of those properties. But if someone ever proposed to demolish or move one of the buildings in that district, it would need to go through a local government review process. So it wouldn't prohibit demolition, it would just add an extra step to get there. National Register designation also has some tangible and intangible benefits as well. We often see districts that are listed in the National Register, like it's a strong placemaking program. So it really raises public awareness and pride around these districts. And it also makes the properties in that district that are contributing, which just means the ones that are, of historic age, makes them eligible for federal and state tax incentive programs for rehabilitation. We have another person in our office who runs those programs and can give more details. But the first step to applying for any of those programs is getting on the National Register. So if you list your district in the National Register, then you've already got that step done. And that can be a real incentive or benefit to a lot of property owners. Now, like I said, that National Register listing, that doesn't come with any kind of protections or restrictions beyond that demolition or relocation review. If you're interested in a district that adds those kind of local protections, that needs to be, sorry. So, not being able to see you is really throwing me off. Yeah, so if you have any questions, just speak up and then you reappear on my screen. But otherwise, I'm just speaking to a black screen. It's a little disorienting.
We're here with you and following. So
okay.
Thank you. This is great.
Thank you.
I can add her as a panelist if that would make it easier.
Oh, yeah. Would you like to be added as a panelist?
Oh, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, 1 second. Apologies, not enough coffee this afternoon.
So is now a good time for me to
No,
ask?
I think not yet, because she's going to talk about, compare that to the
Local district.
local. Yeah, so let's hold off. Okay.
Thank
There
you so
you
much.
are.
Now I can speak and I can see you at the same time. This is great.
Okay.
Thanks for your understanding. Okay, so I was just talking about National Register listing, and then I started talking about local historic districts and how those are different. Do you have any questions about National Register designation that you want to ask, or do you want me to kind of power through local listing and then we can discuss the differences?
Go to local, please.
Yes.
Go to local. Okay, so local historic districts, that's something that would be created by the local government at the local level. Our office, the State Historic Preservation Office, does not set those kind of rules. That would be created usually through a local zoning code ordinance. But we do have resources that are available to help you if that's something that you want to create. At that level, then that kind of district is where you can create really specific, tailored to you kinds of design review requirements, which is one way to kind of control what kind of development is happening in the district. You can make those, like you said, it's really tough, right, to balance being you don't want to be too restrictive, right? You don't want to be a burden on property owners, but also, like you said, you want to promote thoughtful change in this district. So you would have a lot of control over that, being the ones to create that district at the local level. A lot of places in Oregon, they choose to have both. So they both have a local district so that they have those kind of protections, and they apply for the National Register so that they have access to those different benefits that I mentioned, like the historic tax credits, especially.
Question,
Yeah.
do towns that do both, do they typically start with the local process first and then go with the national?
You know, I don't know if there's a typical process. It is really, really location to location.
Okay,
Also, before 2017, those processes were coupled. So if a local jurisdiction had any kind of local district option and a district got listed on the National Register, it would trigger local designation. Since 2017, they've been completely separate. So as I was describing them, totally separate application processes, totally different people in charge. They've been separate, and I would say I'm not as aware. I'm not tapped into local districts being created because I work at the state level, not in the local governments. Um, but there has been some benefit to the decoupling because a lot of groups, if they're thinking of applying for some kind of district status, national register districting might be more appealing at first because it doesn't come with any kind of review requirements or restrictions other than that demolition review that I mentioned. It's really down to what the property owners and what the community needs.
so we were discussing what the city of Amity is doing, and then they have applied for, so they're on now the CLG plan, and then that's enabling them to proceed with some grants and to help them proceed with their, like, making forward momentum on their preservation goals. And so that's something, can you speak to the Council of Local Government information?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about that. Again, I manage the National Register, so that's where I can answer the most technical questions. But another program that's under our umbrella at the State Historic Preservation Office is the Certified Local Government, or CLG program. I'm wondering, I don't know off the top of my head how many CLGs we have in Oregon, but the CLG program, any local jurisdiction can apply to become a certified local government. It's kind of a long process because you do have to create a local historic preservation ordinance and a local landmarks or historic preservation review committee. If you're interested in creating a local historic district, you'd be completing that kind of local preservation ordinance anyway. Being part of the certified local government program, you'd have access to really everyone at our office, which you already do. We're already here for the public, but we do put on like additional workshops and create other kinds of resources and things, and we're available to help you create those things as you're working on building your ordinance, building your commission. You're also, as you mentioned, like Amity is experiencing right now, as a CLG, you would automatically qualify for a biannual historic preservation grant. So you'd still have to apply for it, say what you want to do, but it's a non-competitive grant. If you are, I'm sorry, what's the population of Yamhill? I can.
1,250.
Okay, so at that size, I don't believe you would need. So for larger communities, it's a matching grant. So you have to, it's a match in kind what you're applying for your community. There is no match.
That's
So
good.
that's another benefit of that program. And that's a biannual grant. You can apply for it every 2 years to complete all kinds of projects. A lot of our CLGs, they apply for that grant to complete surveys of historic resources. Sometimes it's to write National Register nominations to get something listed. Sometimes it's other kinds of like interpretive and community building projects, like putting up signage or doing studies on how to rehabilitate historic facades. It's really, really tied to whatever you want and need in your community.
Question?
So I believe, this is Robert. Hi,
Robert.
Helen. I believe the city already has an ordinance. Can you talk a little bit more in detail about the landmark committee and how many people need to participate and what they are actually doing?
That I believe is again, I can speak to the National Register side of that. You would probably want to speak with your local, I'm not sure, planning department, whichever department that ordinance is under to understand what the details of that are and what commission would require. One of the major responsibilities of a landmarks committee, were you to establish one, would be to review any National Register nominations that are coming through in Yamhill. CLGs get the added benefit of being able to comment on any National Register nominations for properties in their community to either, lend your support or not, if you don't think it rises to that level. Other landmarks committees have different kinds of duties. I know in a lot of communities, one of their primary roles is to review any kind of applications for alterations or demolition or any kind of changes within local historic districts or changes or demolition to local historic landmarks. And then that process for something becoming a local historic district or a local historic landmark, that can also be something that the committee is involved in deciding. Again, that because it would be a local designation that would be decided at the local level and would not be something that I would administer on the National Register side.
My second question is, you talked about immediately qualifying for a grant as a certified local community. Government, sorry, certified local government. I'll get my story straight. And you said there was matching funds required for that as well?
Not for how low we are.
For small, under certain populations, there's not.
You didn't get it.
Yeah, for under 5,000 residents, there's no matching requirement. So it's a non-competitive grant. As a CLG, you will get some funding, and you can apply for that every other year as a member of the Certified Local Government Program.
And that funding amount might be what?
I don't know. It depends year to year. So it's a pass-through grant from the National Park Service. So I don't know what it is this year. I'll have to look it up.
Is it already closed or is it still open?
It has already closed for this year. I believe it may have closed March 1st. It closed recently. 1 second, let me check. Like I mentioned, this isn't a program that I operate, although it is an amazing program and I get to work with a lot of our CLGs once they're already established. But I'd also be very happy to share some information after this meeting too, so that you have some things to review.
That's fine. You don't have to look that up.
Katie, I just had a random question since you do the math and stuff. You said it's involved, but like how long, like what's the actual like timetable of it all?
Yeah, I can give you the whole breakdown if you want all of that. But I can tell you typically the timeline's like 9 months to a year.
Gotcha.
For districts, it can be longer because you do need to have a district can't be listed to the National Register over the objection of more than 50% of the owners. And just to maintain good neighbors, usually you want more, even more than that. You want most people to be on board with the district. So we usually advise that applying for district status can take longer because of the outreach you need to do to just make sure that people are informed, they're on board, they know what National Register designation means. And then also sometimes the actual process of preparing the nomination can be longer for a whole historic district versus one property, just because there's more research or more writing to do. So for a district, it really depends on the size of the district, but it usually takes a little over a year.
Okay.
The part of the reason it takes that long is first that outreach process that I mentioned, then there's the research and writing and completing a nomination form, which is a very specific kind of template form that needs to be filled out that's set by the National Park Service. There's a little bit of review and revision with my office, so I work with whoever's preparing the form to make sure that it's really strong. And then after that, it's not active work anymore, but it's like public review periods. And, the nomination gets sent to, if you're a CLG, it gets sent to you all, to the Historic Landmarks Commission to review and comment on. It gets sent to the chief elected local official to look at if they want to. It gets reviewed by a state review board. They make their recommendation, and then ultimately you send it to the National Park Service, and then they also have like a 45-day period where they review. So it ends up being a long process, but not all of that process is active work time, if that makes sense.
Any other questions?
I will
Well,
follow up. Oh, sorry.
okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I'll follow up with certified local government information because I think that's something that you may want to investigate. Our contact for that, her name is Curry Gill. I'd actually asked if she wanted to join today, but she had another meeting and couldn't make it. Um, but if you have questions about what the process looks like for applying to become a certified local government, she'd be the one to talk to.
Okay.
And then if you want to know more about the ins and outs of National Register districting, if you speak with each other and with the building owners and decide that's maybe something that's both viable from an owner consent standpoint and something that people are interested in, I'm happy to talk to you about that too. I'm actually working with both Baker City and Enterprise on potential downtown historic districts now too. So there are other communities in Oregon who are involved in this process as well.
I have one quick question. It looks like a downtown National Historic District. Is this, I know we've gone around on this here, but that you can have the designated district, but not every single building needs to be, like, what's the percentage of buildings that need to fall in that? Is it 50 years or older? Is that the?
That's a really good question. So that all comes down to what you're arguing is the significance of the district. The National Register has a lot of really technical terminology for how they determine whether something is significant to their definition. And part of that is determining like what was the development period of the historic district? Were there like kind of clear beginnings and end dates, or are there, periods of peak development? So understanding the history of the district and understanding how it developed and in what kind of phases, or if there are any like architectural trends that were really strong that are represented, all of that will kind of help you identify what that major period of historic development was. And then everything that falls within that period and still has what the Park Service calls integrity, or like it still kind of looks like it did, you look at it and you say, oh, that's a historic building. Those things would be considered contributing within a historic district, which just means, they meet the requirements, they're historic buildings. It's completely okay if there are other resources, they would call that non-contributing, sprinkled throughout the district. So, like if you have a 2017 building in there, it's not historic, but it's in the middle of the district, it would still be included in the boundary, but it would be considered non-contributing or non-historic within the district.
Thanks. Great. Well, anybody else? That is. Thank you very much for.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
It's
It's been
super
nice
helpful.
talking with you all.
Yeah, and we can, we've looked up some information on the CLG. And I can reach out to Curry too for that, but if you have anything else on hand that would be helpful for us as reference, please send it to me.
Yeah, sure. I'd be glad to.
With the research, so. All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You all too.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. She was extremely knowledgeable.
Yeah. It's good, like hearing all this like third time through now, it starts to finally like settle in. Okay. Good track. All right, well, any other thoughts, I guess, like next steps for this? I think it would be helpful to get more further clarification on the CLG, but just, I guess, opening up for discussion right now. What do you guys?
I think, yeah, looking into the CLG would be a huge thing, and then this, Curry Gill, that could help us with that. I think that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
It seems to me like the local is kind of the way that we were leading at the beginning, and every time we try to move away from that, we get smacked back to local
Uh-huh.
district. I don't think there's any reason you couldn't move on to the historic district at a national level later.
Mhm.
But again,
Once you have it set,
yes,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
start
like
with
get
the
your ducks
small
in a
thing.
row.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Even though-
it's only a little packet that you have to completely understand for the national level.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and the restrictions, so with the, well, so for our next meeting, should we, I know I did sort of a cursory review, but, I'd be happy to try to get more information for our next meeting, to dig in on the G program.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you directly. We're gonna move that together.
Okay, that'd be great.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
and then does Walt have information on that
Yes.
too?
So he's coming up with a whole bunch of things.
Okay,
There was no planning commission meeting last month.
Mhm.
And so he was going to, put some time and energy into this.
Okay.
I have not heard back.
Okay.
That was,
okay,
but I think it was not until next week or the week after.
Okay.
It's gonna happen.
okay. Yeah, and he's probably got so much on all of these things. I mean, I know I've heard him mention them before and his experience with working with other communities too.
So we probably have half of the requirements for the certified local government, which is the city ordinance. I do believe we already have one established for our downtown historical area. And so that would only leave the landmark committee to be established. And that would have to go through city council, would it not, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, we will run through city council.
So we would need to approach the city council with that requirement or the planning commission. I don't know which. Can you suggest?
So I actually, oddly enough, was looking at this, so. If we had a historic landmark committee. I would think that that would fall as a subcategory, a subcommittee of planning.
It actually states in our code, review of historical sites upon receiving land use application, planning official shall review the application.
In the planning code? Or the economic development code?
In planning,
Planning.
10, chapter 10.
Gotcha.
And this is regarding the demolition of a structure that is historic. The planning commission shall review the application. So there's just a small little blurb about this planning commission would review it if they were planning to demolish a historic site.
Yeah, that's one of the three restrictions on this document. So do we want to, approach the planning commission at the next opportunity to see if we can't get them to put a landmark committee together? So,
It would
They
have to
are-
come from council by the charter.
okay,
And so probably if we get real specific, maybe we get the bullet points, everyone will get like up-to-date information from Curry, who administers the program. And then,
how many people and what their relative would be?
yeah, just the whole,
That would be the deal,
Got it.
is to have the details of what the committee
Yeah.
does and needs.
Grants usually close the end of March.
What would the committee be doing?
it just says that we have to have this.
Couldn't the planning commission be that?
I-
Could that-
Possibly.
I see,
Right, I was
rather
thinking
than
the
have
same
another
thing.
committee,
Yep.
have them be the ones that.
Yeah, I think that's what Shay was saying,
Yeah.
just being a subcommittee underneath it. Like,
So
yeah,
they-
Not a subcommittee, just the planning commission be the,
yeah,
They could be.
Yeah.
I think. But I guarantee you that
Well, they would
Curry
have-
Gill and Walt Wendelowski know the answer to that. We just gotta ask the question.
Yeah.
They would have to have a designation.
I don't think we need a new committee.
They would have to have a designation of landmark committee.
We just designate the planning commission as our committee.
yeah.
There are 5 new committees that I have planned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me, this one.
Don't we have a tree committee?
There is urban forestry committee is coming
Mhm.
soon too. But see, that's just it, is that we might end up being the urban forestry committee,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is that you don't have to have 100 meetings.
No.
She has like other things to do also, right? It's just, but
Does.
you know, someday when this town is, you know, incredibly prosperous, we'll just have our city recorder can just do the meetings like in some towns.
So the local government, so looking at these eligibility requirements, so the local government must establish the Historic Preservation Commission with qualified members, so qualified members are.
Like, yeah,
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
which we've already, this is what we've done, right? For preservation ordinance.
I,
Is that?
I'm not aware of a preservation ordinance other than
Recommend design code.
Yeah, is
the
that,
demolition
so
of-
Shay, is that the code that we've all worked on? That we've been like, the keeping the held away, like the color scheme thing we worked on like 2 months ago or a month ago, like, wouldn't that be preservation ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And is that, where can we find it? Is that online? Yeah, I was searching for the updated, all the design code recommendations that we. put
That
together.
is not, nothing's been done with that.
Okay. Nothing about that. When is the next, is that where we need the grant that Walt's applying for in order to get that?
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, a grant is always the best way to get sort of technical assistant grant. But then you also need to weigh that against what would Walt just charge to do that for us. Right, I mean, if that was, because I don't know the scope of work, I mean, if it's 2 hours of work to Walt. Right, or 8 hours of work for staff to put together a grant,
Oh, yeah,
it's
Yeah,
less expensive actually
yeah,
to use city resources
Okay.
on that.
okay.
Technical.
So, yeah, so I'm curious now where we are in that process and
I think it's just waiting for Walt to get back with all these details he's putting together.
so he's on, okay, well, it's on it.
So, yeah.
Well, you know,
I can follow up with Walt. Is that a good answer?
I
for you?
wasn't asking, I could.
No, I was.
I just didn't know, sometimes you talk to Walt since I am, so.
You know, I was talked to him recently.
Last time I talked to him was a week before the planning commission meeting was scheduled. But that's what he had suggested was he would spend some time.
Mhm.
Since we were not having a meeting on putting this together.
Okay.
So,
okay,
So I'd like to reread the city of Yam Hill resolution number R-828. Whereas the city of Yam Hill, Oregon is currently on the National Register of Historic Places, including the John Marion Bun House, turned-in Victorian house in which Beverly Cleary spent the first 6 years of her life, the city of Yam Hill, Oregon, Lee Laughlin House, a Victorian home which was residence of Lee Laughlin located in the city of Yam Hill, Oregon, and so on. So we have already a National Register of Historic Places established in this resolution.
so the individual properties that are
Yes.
designated.
Right.
but all of those properties are outside of the central business district.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Rather than TV.
Well, should we wrap this up? Do you
Sure.
have anybody want to? Okay. Big meeting.
The economic development.
We could-
March.
we could adjourn.
So March, we're in March.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.